She tried to stop me from saving a man's life. I used to work in an emergency room for 6 years, and during that time, I encountered my fair share of entitled people. However, one particular story still stands out in my mind. It was a Monday, and as every ER worker knows, Mondays are typically the busiest days of the week. On this particular day, all 6 stretchers in the triage area were filled, and we had 5 additional patients waiting in the hallway. One of the patients in triage was a woman who had been brought in by ambulance. Although her symptoms weren't life-threatening, she was in a lot of pain, and after assessing her, I determined that she had gallstones. We started in 4, drew labs, and hooked her up to a monitor to monitor her condition. Not long after, an entitled woman walked in the door, and we could tell right away that she was going to be trouble. She began to scream that she knew the CEO of the hospital and threatened to have us all fired if we didn't get her mother, the patient with gallstones, to see a doctor right away. We explained to her that we were incredibly busy and that there were no rooms available in the back, but we would get to her mother as soon as possible. She eventually calmed down but was still visibly anxious. About an hour later, another patient was brought in and placed in the stretcher next to the gallstone patient and her entitled daughter. Something about this patient didn't feel right, and although his vitals were normal, I had a gut feeling that something was wrong. I hooked him up to the monitor and kept a close eye on him, informing the charge nurse of my concerns. Not long after, the patient's heart rhythm changed, and he went into fib, a life-threatening rhythm. I immediately unhooked him from the monitor and threw his bed into drive, calling the charge nurse to inform her of his condition. Entitled daughter, however, grabbed my arm and demanded that I finish attending to her mother. I managed to free myself from her grasp and turned to focus on the critical patient. I warned the daughter that this patient was seconds away from dying and told her she needed to move out of the way or get run over. She tried to stand her ground, but I pushed the stretcher forward anyway, just managing to avoid running her over, although I did end up breaking 2 of her bones. We spent around 30 minutes trying to save the critical patient, but unfortunately, he died. When I returned to the front of the ER, I learned that both the gallstone patient and her daughter had filed a complaint against me. However, a few days later, the hospital CEO paid me a visit during my next shift. Although he didn't have any video evidence, he listened to my side of the story and concluded that I had acted appropriately in the situation. Not only did I not get fired, he put a personal note in my file praising my actions. On my next review, I got a large raise plus a bonus thanks to the CEO's note.